Hello and welcome to Caffeine Entertainment. I'm your host, Mental 9R, and this is another GMX hot take video. This is going to be a pretty short one, I think. As always, I got my good buddy Finn Tin, so it depends how much he talks about it, because I know sometimes you get him going, he doesn't stop, he just keeps on going. He's the energizer buddy of podcasting. But today we're talking about Kojima Production now owns full rights to the Death Stranding IP, and coincidentally, Death Stranding just showed up on Xbox in the marketplace a few days ago. No fanfare. It just showed up unannounced. And I thought we'd give this one a few minutes to talk about and what this might mean going forward. What are your thoughts, Finn?
We've spoken a lot about Xbox exclusives coming to PlayStation and potentially, and I saw that there was another topic that maybe we'll do another hot take on where Xbox are perhaps slowing down on some of those, let's say, Microsoft exclusives or Microsoft IP coming onto to PlayStation. This one I think is a little bit different in that Sony was obviously involved in the development of this game, and I think they're credited on the game as well. But
yeah,
I think there seemed to be, based on the article we read, I think there were some financial gates or targets. Either financial gates or targets that Sony had hit, which meant that the rights reverted back to Kojima, or alternatively, Kojima just decided to buy the game back because its sales on Sony had slowed down, and maybe he felt like I can make another couple of bucks if I can bring this onto Xbox, so I'll buy the rights back from Sony and bring it out to Xbox. Either which way, I don't think it's I'd say a huge loss from Sony's perspective. Seems to have done. The game wasn't universally well received, but it seems to have done pretty well financially and from a sales perspective. Surpasses 19 million players. So I think that Sony have done pretty well out of it, and they've probably made their money. And now I think Kojima is going to make another couple of bucks, as I say, and so will Sony, probably most likely. Even if he owns full rights to where it brings, I wonder, do they still get royalties as they were involved in development? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, a little bit different to the Xbox, but I'm all for it. I haven't played it, I must admit, but I'm a big Hideo Kojima fan. Love the Metal Gear Solid games. But yeah, that's. I don't think we know enough about why it reverted back to comment too much on it. But as I say, I don't think Sony will be crying in their bear too much, because it sold quite well, and I guess the sales did slow down quite a bit as well over the last year.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt that it's lighting the world on fire in Sony land for sales on PS5. I've seen it really cheap on PC, even for the director's cut. I think it mentions in here Epic Games. They gave it away, right here somewhere. Yeah, and twice it was free to claim on the Epic Games Store. That's where I originally got it on PC, but it got cheap enough that I think I picked it up for under $10 for Steam, so I could play it on my Steam Deck. Because I really want to play this game that I've had ample opportunity to play many times, and actually, got into it for about 3-4 hours probably at one point. But back then I was still kind of playing Destiny, and yeah, there's that Destiny thing kind of kept pulling me away. Yeah, that ruined a lot of games for me, to be perfectly honest. So ever since I kicked Destiny to the curb, I've been able to play games straight through. So it is one that I keep telling myself I'm going to go back and play it. And I don't know, Finn, maybe once we get your PC built, we can find a cheap enough deal. You can pick it up. And, maybe it's when we do for a Backlogs and Replay episode or something. But
I'll be up for that. It's a game that's always been on my radar, but I think some of the, and again, we have to look at some of the other games we looked at, including Callisto Protocol, including, what was the other one? The Order, got negative reviews and were decent games. So just because it wasn't universally well received doesn't mean it's not a good game. And I think a lot of people, what I had read about it is that it could be a little bit boring. And I can kind of see that, even though I'm a huge fan of Metal Gear Solid, he does tend to go to town a little bit on the cutscenes and the over elaborate stories. Sometimes it's a bit like sometimes you're watching, you watch a James Bond movie and they're going on about the microfilm and how this is going to change the world or whatever. And they're going to go, look, I know you're the bad. He's a bad guy. James Bond is a good guy. Just go and get him. So
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, but I'm
I
in the
will
market
say
to play it for
this.
sure.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, it's an amazing looking game graphically. Like, it's probably, arguably the best looking game from last generation. Just even the opening uh, 15 minutes of the game,
Oh yeah,
it's like it's kind of a bit of a wow moment. It's like, wow, look what they did with this,
even
and then to
better
play it
than
on.
oh sorry, like
Sorry.
even better than Last of Us 2. You reckon?
Well, yeah, I honestly I think so. Like, at least to my eye, very visually appealing, quite impressive, and to play it on Steam Deck was quite amazing too. On the OLED screen, it looks amazing, and then you have the fact that on PlayStation 4 it was stuck at 30 FPS. On my Steam Deck, I can play it at 60. Like, it plays fine. So yeah, it's really I can't say it's not optimized well, and it does look really good. And I think it plays at 60 on PlayStation 5. I think they have a performance mode that works, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me, but I think it's good. The more people that can play a game, the better. I think it's good. It came to Xbox. It'll be interesting to see how it does on Xbox for sales. Always a good thing. But I think the question this raises for me is Death Stranding 2 was announced as a PlayStation exclusive. And if Kojima now owns the IP in its entirety, does that include Death Stranding 2? And does that mean that we'll see Death Stranding 2 on Xbox and Amazon Luna and other places, maybe even Switch 2,
Hmm.
much sooner than anyone would have expected, right? Because I think Switch 2 should be able to play Death Stranding quite easily, and Death Stranding 2, obviously. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here and what that means. I don't really care so much about the Death Stranding aspect. It's more, hey, there's a new one coming. When's that going to show up on other platforms, or will it be day one on other platforms? I wish we could be a fly on the wall and know what that deal actually means
Yeah,
with it
that's the
coming
key,
back.
right? Like, what are the
Yeah,
terms of that deal? That, like, as I think we were saying before the show, there's either a series of gates whereby if it hits these numbers, I'm allowed to take it back, or Kojima decided to buy it back, or something, or a certain amount of time, or something, something, something. We don't know. I
yeah,
guess is the
yeah,
fact, and but it would be interesting to see. I don't think it's. I think this is a specific, based on what we're reading here. Whatever the deal is, it's a deal that's specific to this game between Kojima and Sony, and it probably is not indicative of any broader trend or whatever. I do
yeah,
think in general, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, really, like exclusives on console, it gives you a reason to buy one console over the other.
yeah,
If everything is eventually going to come out on every console, or what's the point of having more than one console if you're not a guy who buys games day one, which you and I both aren't typically.
yeah.
Um, but
Well, then
yeah,
it comes down to a feature war, I guess, and an
yeah,
ecosystem war, and uh, maybe it's which controller do you prefer, right?
that's another show right there.
Yeah, it is. It is. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this one. I think, like I say, for me, it's Death Stranding 2. That's the part I'm kind of most curious about. What does it mean for that? And exclusivity on PlayStation. Is it still exclusive to PlayStation? I haven't seen anyone say that it is. I haven't seen anyone say it isn't. Uh, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, I think. Any other thoughts,
Nope,
Finn?
that's about it.
Right on, short and sweet. Finn, why don't you let everybody know where they can reach you? I know that's your favorite thing to do, and I'd hate to deprive you of that experience.
I think it's your favorite thing to do to make me go through this every time. But yeah, so it's Fin Tin Tin on X with one instead of the I, as you see there, and Fin Tin Tin on Sony, Xbox, and Steam.
Right on. And I am at Mental9R on X. I am Mental9R on PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, and just about anywhere else you can play games. And here we are at Caffeine Entertainment, but you know that because you're here watching right down to the bitter end, and we thank you so much for that. And hey, if you like the show, don't be afraid to hit that like button and maybe even leave a comment. And if you can find it in your soul to just hit that subscribe button, we greatly appreciate that too. Or a follow if you're on Rumble. Once again, I'm at Mental9R. He's at FinTinTin. This is at Caffeine Entertainment. Don't forget, it's time to wake up and play some games.